Okay. We are going to find him, and we are going to get him on the show regardless. We are going to find a way of how to invite. Because I have learned two things. A, this is easier from your phone. B, I need... Okay. I need to find out what we can do. Well, there is always the option of me joining the alternate way. So, I do know that they have made this. Do you see any controls at the bottom or to the side, Ron? How does this work? I'm going to figure this out, whether it likes me or not. There. Finally. It's fine. Hello.
Hello.
Okay, there you are. I have
I
found
think
that
it
on my...
only I think
Hey,
it only
what?
gives you this option on the phone because I'm looking for it on the computer and I don't see it. But
I'm,
man, when you
yeah,
look at it on the computer, it's messed up.
I know that people have done it. That's the problem.
On
And I'm
computer?
not... Yeah, people have done it on the computer. I am so confused. I'm still learning, but I do like the setup. So right now I am also doing it on my phone. But I guess let's start from the top. Hello, my lovelies. Welcome back to another episode of Author Talk with Ronald W. Gillespie. He is a wonderful author, and his stories have such a range of subjects. He finds a way to keep them interesting and find new things to write stories about. And it's always a fun thing to read. Except for a couple. A couple of them are like, I don't think I ever want to do that myself. So, welcome to the show, Ron.
Thank you. And what couple of them would that be?
I don't want to go through the thing that the guy in the book is going through. Nah, I'm good. And then patient something. Can't remember the number. But that story, I don't want to partake into those different things. But those are like the ones that are like, nah, most. But okay. This is a new format show that I'm trying. The Angel Nix had suggested that we there's going to be live author signings in the future that I can send you a link to if you want to try. It's usually 3 days a month, and you can pick a day at any time, morning to, I think, through midnight. And you just come on for like half an hour and talk about stuff about your author career. But I wanted to bring that further into the group.
I don't know if I would call it so much a career. It's a pastime.
You're building it.
Working on it slowly but surely.
You're doing a great job. I love your stories. Let's ask a few questions. One, what about this new story that you have put into for the anthology?
I assume that you're referring to Agent Red?
Yes, I'm sick and I'm having trouble remembering names. That's the problem. Agent Red. Tell us a few little juicy tidbits about Agent Red.
The anthology is supposed to be a twist on fairy tales. I did a twist on Little Red Riding Hood, where Agent Red is an elite agent for a privateering organization which is designed for keeping peace in the realm. The realm is not specifically stated where it is, when it is, or why it is. I'm assuming that people will understand that if this is a fairy tale, then it's probably a fairy tale realm.
Yeah.
There is no magic in the book, and I haven't decided yet whether or not I will put magic in the story if I continue this into a series, because I think that with a little bit of world building and character development, I could extend this out into an actual series. The biggest comment that I got during the beta reading process of the book was, why? You know, who are these people and why should I care about them? What is this organization and what exactly do they do and why do they exist? So at first, none of that was written into the story, but after one of my beta readers mentioned that, I decided that if one person is going to ask that question, then it's a good possibility that other people are going to ask that same question. So I did end up rewriting the story and included some of that information. So there's still room to build there, and I can build whatever kind of world I want. But essentially, it's still Agent Red. She works for the Hood organization, and their main nemesis is the Wolf organization. So I don't know if that answers the question, but I mean that's a lot of information in a short amount.
That is a whole lot of information, and that is a great information. That is actually, I love how there's different levels and you grow through it. This is so weird. I love how there's different levels and you grow through the levels, and you have got different personality types in it. I love how you show the different levels of, like, there's natural leaders, there's natural followers, there's a reason that they have made the faction. There is so much more you can add to this world.
Yeah, I think so. The levels, the tiers of the organization, essentially that kids are recruited into the organization because they come from orphanages or they have questionable backgrounds of their origins, where they came from, but they're recruited into the organization, which gives them a home, gives them education and training and all of that in order to be agents for the hood organization. So the recruit tiers are rubies, which are the youngest, the kids usually between the ages of 6 and 12. The scarlets, which are generally somewhere between 12 and 16, maybe 12 to 17. It just depends on at what age the child is recruited into the organization. And then they move up through the tiers as they go on. Then from the scarlets, you get the bloods, and that's really the bulk of their education and their training. It's going to be their teen years into their early 20s. And then the crimsons, and the crimsons are like the high tier. And then they have a specialized group called the Crimson Elite, which are the best of the best for the tiers. And Agent Red is trying to get into the Crimson Elite.
Okay. Out of all the stories you've written so far, which is the one that you wish more people would read and talk more about?
The book that I just released, the last entry of Grant Gilson, out of everything that I've done so far, I think that one shows the most promise to making it into other media types, just because of the storyline, and it follows Grant Gilson through the course of one night, and then to the resolution of the book, which it's questionable how much time it actually takes, because at some point time no longer has any meaning for the events that he's going through. So in reality, it's probably several weeks.
I don't want to have to go through what Grant went through. That's all I'm going to say, because that would have to go from a nice, happy, everything's okay to, oh my God, what? Why have you changed so much? What is happening? What is that? Type of situation.
Last entry of Grant Gilson is Dark Apocalypse. It's as the events are happening, as the apocalypse is happening, and nobody knows the reason why. They can only speculate as to why all of this is happening. But I knew one thing when I started the story. I wanted it to start out bad and then get progressively worse as the story went on. And I think I did that pretty well.
From what I've read so far, yes. Yes, you have. To even reminding me of some of my least favorite post-apocalyptic books, from Stephen King to random things I read in middle school. I probably read way too much post-apocalyptic things. But yeah, it's even if you're a Fallout fan, you can read this and you can picture the world around, even though a nuclear bomb is not why it started. But with those the imagery you have from the sand to this, you can have ideas of how things started happening. Start seeing the world in your mind. No, I'm not saying it's like those things. I'm just saying those things will help you see the world as he describes it, as I've read so far. I need to finish it. I am way too overwhelmed.
The world is the world that we're in now. It's present day, here and now, as if the events in the book started happening tonight, tomorrow, next day.
Yeah, but no, what I'm saying is like the people changing, the finding the vehicles on the side of the road as he's walking through, trying to get somewhere where he's trying to end up. Watching people get angrier and angrier and their personalities change as they go through stressors, and even the whole, the host, as bad as I know, the host is like also a good previous framework in my mind of how I started looking at it as I went through. It's like, but how did they use this? And then you take all of the things that from the nightmares of those books and give it your twist. And I do recommend reading this book. I do plan on finishing it if we can ever get past this horrific algebra. Oh my God, I hate teaching algebra. And I know it's not easy for them to learn algebra, but back to the previous program. Which is your favorite, which standpoint in the book do you think is the most, oh no, what the hell am I going to do without giving spoilers?
Well, that's the question right there. When you say, what's your favorite, or what, I think the question would be, what to me is the point in the book where it's past the point of no return, where everything changes. What's the turning point in the book?
Mm-hmm.
Without giving away any spoilers, that's a hard one, because he goes through so much.
Making spoilers to you can give spoilers, but I mean, like, giving away spoilers that's going to destroy the plot for the rest of the story to a point that you're uncomfortable with. You know what I mean? Because with what you can, giving enough detail that you're comfortable with it without being, as the author, too uncomfortable. Let's put it that way.
Let's just say that Grant has a way of accepting things as they are and dealing with them in that moment. And in order for him to just give up the fight, he would have to lose absolutely everything that he was fighting for. And we'll leave it at that.
Okay. What is your favorite short story so far that you have written?
Nightmare's Whiskers.
Gronk and Nightmare and Gronk?
Yes, Nightmare and the Gronk. I always refer to it as Nightmare's Whiskers because the title of the book, Nightmare Whiskers, what if the nightmare had whiskers, is actually what inspired the whole story to begin with. Thinking of Nightmare as a cat, and what would be about the cat that his whiskers would be important. That if he were a superhero and he had magical whiskers that could detect evil. So I envision Nightmare's Whiskers as a comic book, somewhat in the vein of the 1960s Batman with Adam West and Burt Ward. That kind of colorful, askewed angle, cheesiness. That's how I viewed Nightmare's Whiskers. So the comic Nightmare's Whiskers, I think, would make its own standalone story. So if anybody wants to work with me on developing an actual comic for Nightmare's Whiskers, I would absolutely love that. But that sets up the story for Aiden, the little boy in the story. He was about 10 years old, and he's got a monster living under his bed, and the monster's name is Gronk. Gronk is not really well defined in the story as to what he looks like, and that was entirely on purpose. There's like some mention, as far as his claws and his teeth and stuff like that goes, but like what he actually looks like, there's no real definitive description of him, and that was entirely on purpose, so that the reader can envision whatever they want Gronk to look like.
I really like what he does in the story and how he helps. I think my favorite, for some odd reason, I've given him green and grayish fur.
Okay.
I don't know why. I blame my children, but they're monsters. Lots of Henry Huggle monster.
I mean, I kind of have my own idea in my head on what I think Gronk looks like, but that's just me because Gronk's gonna look like whatever people want Gronk to look like. I will say, and this might be giving too much away, but Gronk's personality is actually based on a cartoon character that some people probably know.
Okay.
You want me to tell you who it is, or do you want to try to guess?
No, I want you to tell me who it is. I am way too sick to try to guess names.
Do you remember the Animaniacs?
Yes.
Do you remember the cartoon on the Animaniacs for Mindy and Buttons?
Yes.
All right. Do you know the dog Buttons?
Mm-hmm.
That's what Gronk's personality is based on.
I really like that. That
He's
is a good.
he's based on Buttons from Mindy and Buttons.
Okay, I'm back. I think. I think my favorite one so far, because it keeps jumping between two. The name problem. The urban.
Urban Legend.
Yeah, urban legend. That one. I think it keeps jumping between that one and the one about the funeral director, race car driver.
Race 13 for the 13th race.
Yeah, 13th race. But what other ghost stories have you wanted to write, like tropes to use?
Other tropes to use for ghost stories. That's hard to say because I have to be inspired really to write ghost stories. The one thing I am inspired, heavily inspired by shows like Twilight Zone and one from the 80s called Amazing Stories.
That was good too.
Let's see, Tales from the Dark Side, The Outer
That was
Limits, and more recently shows like Black Mirror. Every now and then I come across anthology short story shows or movies like on Amazon Prime and the indie horror film channels. And some of them are really good, and you can see that they took an idea and they ran with it. So I love those kind of short horror anthology movies like that because they inspire me. I'm a diehard fan of No Sleep podcasts, and now some of those stories from No Sleep podcasts have also been turned into short horror videos as well. There was a recent series, what was it called? Black Box, I think, that was on Shudder, or maybe it was Screamify. I don't remember which one it was on. I think it was Shudder. And they did like 6 stories that had appeared on the No Sleep podcast. And to me, that would be like a goal, a dream come true. It would be like the next step to write a story that somebody liked so much they wanted to take it and make it into a short horror film like that to include in one of those horror movie anthologies. With the last entry of Grant Gilson being Dark Apocalypse, my sister, who was one of my beta readers, she said, she liked it, that it was really good, that she could see it being made into a movie for Netflix or Amazon Prime, that to make it into a whole movie like that. And I would love to do something like that. And I think that out of everything that I've written, Last Entry is definitely one of the primary stories that would work for that.
Okay. Have you, well, not have you, what is your favorite part about the pirate story you are writing, pirate book?
The pirate story is not done yet. I'm still trying to hash out a couple of details, and I've got to go back and rewrite a part because it is actually one of the turning points in the book, which will set up the rest of the story. The pirate story is called The Curse of Captain Eyre's Treasure. Captain Eyre, his name is Jameson. He was born in Ireland to an Irish father and an English mother. But as you know, the English and the Irish have never really had good relations with each other. So because of that, the English put Jameson's father to death, and his mother, they took the child away from her and put him in an orphanage. So Jameson grew up without parents, and he escaped from the orphanage, and that's when he turned to piracy, and he served under the pirate captain for the ship, and became real close friends and first mate for the pirate captain. And then once the pirate captain died, he put Jameson in charge. And Jameson hates the English and was extremely brutal on how he treated them. And so he earned the name Captain Eyre because of his hatred for the English.
Okay.
Right now, I'm not quite halfway through the story, but I'm getting to that point, and this is where I require the rewrite because it's going to get me to where I need to be to reach the halfway point. Up until this point, nothing has been supernatural or paranormal. It's all just pirates at sea, essentially, doing their raiding ships and their sea battles and all that kind of stuff. Once I get to the halfway point and the story starts going the direction that I want it to go, to get to the point where we actually learn what Captain Eyre's treasure is, there will be a supernatural element that comes into play, but I'm not going to say what that is yet.
Okay. Okay, what is your comfort restaurant from when you were a kid?
A comfort restaurant from when I was a kid. I would say that there are a couple of them.
Okay, what are those?
Well, I grew up in North Carolina, and we had two restaurants that I can think of in my hometown. And one, there were three. One was the Peddler Steakhouse, and it was, your average date night type steakhouse with candlelight and, $20 prime rib and all that kind of stuff. one of the students in my karate class, a guy named Murray Broom, he was the owner of the Peddler Steakhouse at the time. So Murray always treated me right when I went in there and gave me discounted meals and all of that, you know. And whenever my father went there, you know, my father and I went there to eat, you know, he always come out and say hi to us. And it's Peddler was one of them, which I think is probably why I like steak to this day. Another one was Murphy's Irish Pub. I don't know if there was anything really too Irish about it, but it was just your average standard sports bar dive. It wasn't fancy at all. Cheap beer. They had some pool tables. They had what's the game? It's kind of like curling, but on the table. What do they call it? And they had to pour like sawdust on the table so that the pucks would slide. And the idea was to, I can't remember what it's called. Well, they had one of those in there. Jukebox always played loud blues music. I spent a lot of time at Murphy's Irish Pub, and I played a lot of pool there. Yeah. But on Wednesday nights, they had all-you-could-eat spare ribs. And they would start these things like a day in advance where they would just smoke them like for 24 hours. And it was like one of the most popular things to do in the city was go to Murphy's on Wednesdays for all-you-can-eat spare ribs. And, I mean, they're not the little baby back ribs. I mean, these were like the full-size spare ribs. These things were just fantastic. So I went there a lot. I spent a great deal of time there playing pool and just enjoying the vibe. It was one of my favorite places. And then the last one was a place called the Klondike Cafe. And it was one of the local spots for bands to play. They had bands there every Friday and Saturday night. I spent a great deal of time there as well. I saw a lot of local music there. And one of their signature dishes was called the Belt Buster Burger. The Belt Buster was 2 8-ounce beef patties, so you're getting 16 ounces of beef or 1 pound of beef on a burger, and it's thick. And then a double order of curly fries. And I got to the point where I would go in there, and it started. I knew the guy. He was the head cook there. His name was Mike. And I'd come in and one night and I said, Mike, what do I want for dinner tonight? He goes, you want a Belt Buster with an extra beef patty? And I said, okay. He goes, are you sure? I said, yeah, you said it. So, that's what I'll get. He's like, well, it'll be $1 extra for the extra patty. I said, that's fine. So he gave me these 3 8-ounce patties, and this burger was huge. And I sat there and I demolished the thing in like 10 minutes. And Mike says, I have never seen anybody do that before. I had a pretty good appetite back then. Skinny young white boy. Then I tried doing 4 beef patties on the Belt Buster, and that was pretty good too. I don't know if anybody ever actually did that until I started doing it, but that was my other favorite place to eat. So Murphy's and Klondike Cafe. And okay. Murphy for the vibe because of the pool tables, and Klondike because of the bands.
That is awesome. When it comes to your writing process, do you write it down and then edit it as you type it up, or do you type it directly to the computer?
I type it directly into the computer, and then when I get to a stopping point, I'll go back and read through what I wrote and make any preliminary edits along the way. I edit as I go, pretty much, which is kind of a blessing and a curse. It's good because you can catch a lot of things as you're going. If you don't edit as you go, then you're going to miss a lot when you try to read back through it. The problem with that is the longer the story gets, the harder it is to read back through it to edit it.
Yes.
So Last Century of Grant Gilson is right about 50,000 words. It's just over 50,000 words. So it's not not like a full-length novel by any stretch of the imagination, which would be maybe 70, 80,000 words. And I mean, there are some authors out there that are putting out novels that are over 100,000 words. And I can only imagine how difficult the editing process on something like that would be when your novel is turning out to be like 600, 800 pages. That's going to take some time to edit, and you're probably not going to be the one editing it. You're probably going to have a team of people that are editing it for you to pick up on everything. Just the other night.
They're doing that every 300, not three, but every 3 months, 3 to 5 months, they're putting out 600-page books. And some of them, they're really good. Some of them, I'm like, wait a minute, go back and try this again.
Yeah, so since last entry of Grant Gilson is one of the longest things that I've written to date, since I've mostly been focusing on short stories. Patient number 12 was about 30,000 words, and it was still in the first collection of short stories. So, Grant Gilson is another 20,000 words past that, and it already takes long enough just to edit 30,000 words. So it took me a while to read through Grant Gilson to do all the edits on it. So hopefully, since my eyes are the first line of defense, and then it gets to Patty. Patty picks up on a couple of things as well that need to go back and change and all that, which I ended up having to do on that one as well, especially because they're going toward Traverse City, Michigan. And I kept seeing Travers, Tarvers, and Tarverse. And I had to make sure that I got the name right every time.
Travers, not Traverse.
I kept messing it up. Yeah. I kept messing it up. There were a couple other little typographic things like that as well. With my fingers just are either moving too fast or they're not hitting the keys that they're supposed to. With Tiffany's name, Tiffany, and every now and then I would see the name Tiffany, like it's missing that second F. And it's like, I got to go through and fix all of those too. Oh, and I had a situation with that as well, where I went through, I made all the changes, and then I saved it. And then when I went back and I opened it up, none of those changes has saved because I didn't save it in the same folder as where I had originally started writing it. So I created the document in my personal folder on my hard drive. But then after having all of the editing problems, I decided that I would just save it to OneDrive because OneDrive auto saves. So when I did the changes the first time and saved it, it saved it to OneDrive. But then when I opened it again, I opened it from the personal folder and none of the changes had been saved there. I was like, and once I realized that, then I had to literally figure out, all right, how do I merge these two folders so that everything is the way it's supposed to be. So now I created a shortcut on my desktop so that it opens up into OneDrive. So anything new that I create now should automatically be in OneDrive. So hopefully it will save me some, a lot of editing issues later.
What is your go-to drink?
Alcoholic or otherwise?
Non-alcoholic and alcoholic.
Enough said.
Okay. I didn't hear anything through, or just both.
I'm holding up a Mountain Dew can.
Oh, okay. I need you to understand on my side, everything's dark. So I can't
Yeah,
see.
I can see that.
So,
I've got the stream on the computer as well, but it really distorts the video on the computer. Like
yeah.
on your side on the phone, it's all completely black, but I see myself perfectly fine. But on the computer is like really close up on your face.
Yeah, but I have it so far away. I have it a good 2 or 3 feet away from my face. Yeah, at least a good 2 feet from my face. That is the thing.
I think that they should change that, or else put the pictures side by side rather than top and bottom.
Yeah, if I could figure out how to do that, I would do that.
Well, I think it was meant to be done on the phone because there's no option to join on the computer. So
Yeah. So that's one of the annoying things about this. But okay, that was not the original goal to have it so up close to my face. That's why it's so far away on my end. But okay, I guess the last question is, before we go, is where is your favorite place to go and relax and think about what you're writing?
the beach.
That's a good place.
I'm originally from Florida, and I lived down there for the better part of 18, 19 years on and off, with some breaks in between that 18, 19 years. But while I was living down there, I never really took advantage of the fact that I was living so close to the beach that I didn't go to the beach nearly as often as I would have liked. But I guess, you kind of take it for granted when you're actually living there and it's just like right there. They're like, oh, okay, well, I can go, later, whatever. And then you never do. Now I'm in Ohio. There are no beaches around here. The weather sucks. It's extremely cold. The snow hasn't melted. It's ridiculous. And now I look forward to going down to visit my parents for Christmas because it's the one opportunity that I get now to go to the beach. So if I get the opportunity to move back to Florida at some point, I'm not going to waste it. I'm not going to take it for granted. I'm going to make it a point to start going to the beach as often as I can. And that's my retirement plan.
That would be good.
Once I retire, I'm moving somewhere there's a beach, and I'm just gonna get me a beach chair and go sit out there and watch the sunrise every morning.
Sounds like a plan.
I would do it now if I had the opportunity.
Yes. So let's call it here. Thank you for coming on here and having author talk with me. The live will be deleted in 30 days, but it will be up on YouTube.
Okay.
So we can find it again later. But either way, I hope you have a wonderful night. Thank you for joining me.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It's always good when I can market my books.
Yes, it is. And you're a wonderful author. Good night, everybody.
Night.